Alright, I'm setting a timer for 3 minutes because I'm gonna have like 1 minute to sit down and get ready. Let's get comfy. You just gonna sit there and watch me, you creep. Alright, 30 seconds till go time. Till go time. That was very quick, but I'm not gonna do any more than that. So what I will say is that every single breath that I took felt very distracted. I don't know if that's what they're going for, and I don't know if other people experience this, but like, even if I was trying to focus on my breath, on the inhalation and the exhalation, or the inhale and the exhale, I would still have underlying thoughts. Maybe that's just me, but it was never, even when I was fully focused and I said, focus on just the exhale. Even when I did that, there would still be thoughts that came through. I don't know if that's what's supposed to happen. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but we did it. We did like 2.5 minutes of it, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, I could be wrong. But that's a start, and that's what matters for me. It's not about showing up perfectly, it's just about showing up, even when it isn't really perfect. This first story is the monk who built a hut and meditated in the depths of Mount Utsu. I don't know, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation, so forgive me. Once, I went wandering along Eastern Road. Finding the cherry blossoms of Mount Utsu hard to pass by, I went searching deeper in. And along the famous vine-tangled narrow path, famed from poetry of old, beneath trees so dense that sunlight failed to penetrate, I found a monk who had built a meager hut and sat there in zazen meditation. He looked around 40 years of age. How and where he had come from, how and where had he come from, and what sorrow had driven him to dwell here? I asked. And what had awakened him to the Buddhist truth? I am a man of the land of Sagami, he told me, born into a samurai family. I was destined to be the one who carried a long sword at my side and wielded the bow and arrow, but I was stricken with fear when I understood life's transience. Though I practiced meditation from time to time, stilling my mind, I was unable to leave the world behind me. Then my wife, my companion of many years, died, and my heart grew more and more determined to take that decisive step. And so I cut off my hair and retreated to this mountain. In the beginning, I spent some time in the temple known as Matsushima, but those close to me troubled me with their fussings, so I left without their knowledge. And for the past 2 years, I have lived here. From time to time, I go out to the local village and beg for food. And in this way, I keep this meager body and soul together. My heart is now so pure that I feel no real desire for food anymore, and I eat only 2 or 3 times a month. Full of reverence, is it reverence or reverence? Full of reverence and envy of him, I told him that I wished to live there with him. A foolish idea, he replied. I would stray from my path, you would fall into error, we would not help each other along the way. Wherever you go, that is where you must purify your heart.
but please visit me again. There was not such a great distance between us, in fact, but I was sadly lacking in resolution, and before long, I set off on my travels again and did not settle there, though I promised to return. I had every intention of visiting him on my way back to the capital, but before I knew it, I had wandered on into Oku, and stayed there quite some time. On my way home again, I took a different route, and although I had not forgotten him, my promise remained unfulfilled. Excuse me, my reading, I'm butchering this right now. The manner of his awakening to the Buddhist truth was particularly pure. India and China are far off places, and I will say nothing of them here, nor have I known our own country's wise men of old. Yet it seems to me that, along the many I have seen, there is none to match the awe-inspiring nature of this man. He hid himself away in deep ravines, watching the pure moon emerge from wind-torn clouds through the pines on mountain peaks. Yo, that's a beautiful sentence. He hid himself away in deep ravines, watching the pure moon emerge from wind-torn clouds through the pines on mountain peaks. Wow. It fills me with envy to think of it, even to hear those occasional scraps of tales written of such people, to witness the pure serenity of such dwellings by the sea or deep among mountains, fills one's eyes with tears. How much more he must have wept for joy to live there and see such a world all around him. And how envy overwhelms me to think of him now and imagine in what pure land he must be dwelling. What then is this form of practice called Zazen? It is surely to relinquish all the objects of perception, to focus the mind on the mind, and thereby to cast away the mind. To hold in your heart such koans as the mud ox runs in the sky, the wooden horse neighs in the heavens. And when you do, what then? You simply hold it tirelessly. In essence, if your urge for the Buddhist truth is sincere, all ways in are one. Thoughts are like old mice. Enlightenment is like a young cat, as the old saying goes. To still the mind deeply and perform Zazen is the practice of mind, one of the 3 Buddhist practices, and is a greater thing than to build 1,000,000 pagodas to the Buddha. Remember, all that is good must come only from the heart. That is the short story of the monk who built a hut and meditated in the depths of Mount Utsu. I think this is a beautiful story. I don't know where it necessarily comes from. I'm not very knowledgeable in this area, but this book definitely was one of the books that really made me think about the beauty and transience of life, as they say, the transience of life. I like that word, transience. I wanted to end this video off on a certain note,
discussing the idea of small wins, because for me, as someone who struggles to see the small wins, it's important for me to acknowledge that every small step that I take is one step closer to what I want and the person that I want to be. And it's going to be interesting to see how this program, this schedule, this routine, I forget the word, this routine is going to develop over a span of hopefully weeks or months or years. My biggest worry right now is staying consistent with it. That's also why I've been very focused on just pacing myself and doing little by little and building myself up slowly, because I understand that there's certain things that I can excel at, or there's certain things that I can do a lot of, but right now I just want to pace myself and focus on getting small win after small win, so that hopefully one day I will stumble upon a big win, or I will stumble upon a goal that I've been looking for. So I've got a bunch of goals set up on the wall. I might reveal them in another video or at another time. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the small wins. For me personally, the place where I notice the smallest wins, or I notice the most small wins, is in the weight room. For me, I stay consistent in the gym a lot because I have learned how to enjoy the act of just going to the gym. So for me, it's not about hitting a PR, it's not about moving any distinct weight. I know that if I go into the weight room and I don't even perform to the best of my abilities, I know for a fact that the fact that I was even in there is a small win. Sorry, my cat's right behind the camera, just checking. Hey? Yeah, you. Check that. I'm not lying, I swear. Oh my goodness, he's freaking out. So for me, the small wins are what matter in the gym the most. I very rarely actually... Sorry, there's a helicopter flying by. I very rarely actually hit a PR or perform in a certain way that I want. It's very rare that I get what I want out of gym. But what I know is that whenever I go in there, it's an opportunity for me to learn something about myself. And not even necessarily in a deep way. It can be in a deep metaphorical sense, but more often than not, even if I'm doing the same weights as I did last week, or I'm doing the same movements as I did last week, I'm still learning something. I'm still getting better at something. It doesn't necessarily have to be an increase in weight or an increase in reps. Sometimes it's just cleaning up the technique. Sometimes it's just moving in a way that you think looks a bit cooler. Today I practiced muscle-ups at the gym, ring muscle-ups, and I've been trying to get them to look a certain way, and it just hasn't been working. And I underperformed today. I went in and I didn't do what I wanted to. But I know that the next time I go in, hopefully if I have another opportunity to go in, I will perform a little bit better. And then hopefully the time after that, the next time after that, I will perform a little bit better. And slowly over the weeks, I will progress into the athlete that I want to be. So for me, it's been very hard to transition that mindset into other aspects of my life, which is ultimately what I want to do. I want to be able to think of things like the weight room, where even if I don't get a direct win, or even if I don't get the marks that I want in class, or I don't know, another example. Think of an example for yourself. But if you don't get what you want, there's a chance that there's a reason for it. Does that make sense? There's always going to be a reason for why you didn't get what you want. that doesn't mean to be hard on yourself, because it's not necessarily always your fault. But more often than not, the universe will grant you what you want at the right time. Or it will show you that what you wanted isn't necessarily what's in store for you or what you actually want. Sometimes you want something and, you know, God or the universe or whatever you want to call it comes in and says, well, no, actually, you're not going to get that. We don't think you deserve that. I don't think you deserve that. You're going to get what I put in store for you. And more often than not, you'll find that that is better than what you wanted. So, going back to the whole idea of small wins, I've been struggling to see that in my day-to-day life. I talk bad about myself a lot in my head. There's a lot of mental, I wouldn't say anguish is a bit dramatic, but there's a lot of conflict going on around here. But the interesting thing is, when it comes to the weight room, there's no conflict. I can go in, I can aim for a PR, I can fail the PR, and I won't even be disappointed. I'll just be like, okay, cool. Next exercise. Thank you, next, kind of thing. So I need to transition that same mindset into the real world, into other things that aren't just the weight room, where it's that idea of, okay, cool, we messed up here, next thing. Or like, okay, cool, we didn't get what we wanted, next goal, next person, you know, next interaction. For me, it's also like a social thing. Sometimes you go through these really awkward patches where you go out, you're chatting to someone, and it's just awkward. It's just not nice. And it's not what you wanted out of the interaction. And then it's very hard to move past that. Sometimes I sit and I think about it and I'm like, I'm so stupid for that. Why did I do that? That made no sense. Or that was not smooth at all. Like, why did you mess up? Or oh my goodness, that was so cringe. That was very corny. Or, you know, I think the idea of awkwardness, that's a video for another time, but awkwardness in and of itself doesn't really exist unless you believe it does. But embarrassment, things like that, they can be real and they can appear. I had a really odd interaction last week with this one girl at a bar, and it was very awkward. At first, everything was going smooth. We were chatting, flirting, chilling. But then one thing happened, and it was just, maybe I'll explain it in another video, but it was just very awkward. It was not what I wanted out of the interaction. So I stood up, I got out of there, and I was like, cheers, goodbye, I'll see you another time. And that entire night, I just thought about that interaction, and I was like, that could have gone so much better. I could have done so many different things, but could have, would have, should have, it doesn't matter. You need to focus on the next person, on the next interaction, on the next goal, on the next PR. Sometimes it's the same goal, the same PR, but you just didn't hit it this time. And you fail to see the other opportunities that will come where you can hit it, whatever the goal may be. So, in that sense, I'm still learning how not to dwell on failures and mistakes. And I'm learning how to forgive myself for being weird, being cringy, for being a bit awkward and uptight. You need to forgive yourself for these things. You can't, sorry, excuse the word. You can't just sit there and feel bad for yourself or get angry at yourself for making these mistakes, because at the end of the day, depending on what it is, no one's going to even remember. So if you're the only person who sits there thinking about that one L that you took, you're only doing yourself a disservice. So that's the goal for this week. I'm going back to uni tomorrow. I'm gonna interact with people. I'm gonna socialize to my best ability, and we're gonna have fun. And whatever happens, happens. Whatever failures or L's I take, I'm just not going to dwell on them. It's good to sometimes look at where you messed up, but you have to take that criticism and add it to yourself and build yourself up, not break yourself down. In that sense,
or because of that, I'm using redundancies. I'm saying the same thing. I'm saying dead phrases. My whole point is, this is the year of change for me, and I'm going to change the mindset that I have about myself, and I'm going to learn to not be so hard on myself when it comes to failures, when it comes to messing up, because we all mess up, and to be honest, no one really cares except you if you do. I mean, there are certain things where, it could be illegal, where you mess up, you could have killed someone or something, but hopefully it's not that bad. So yeah, take the losses and turn them into lessons. If the entire experience was awkward or bad, if you fail a squat PR, you fail a bench PR, and the bar is like chilling on your neck, and you're choking and you don't know what to do, and then someone comes and lifts it up, and all of the girls in the gym are watching you. That didn't happen, by the way. I'm just saying, if it did for you, it's an L, but then you learn to maybe ask for a spot next time, or maybe you learn to program intelligently, hit the weights that you want to hit. But at the end of the day, applying that philosophy into other parts of life is going to help me, it's going to help you. So let's just work on that then.